Okay, today the paper that I will be presenting will be titled Profiling Based on Demographic Factors that Influence the Satisfaction of Tourists Visiting Mabul Island as a Tourist Destination. The paper was written by me, Rosli Mohidin, Tini Maizura Mokhtar, Azazi alias Azizi bin Haji Abdul Adis. Uh, we we are from the Faculty of Business, Economics and Accountancy, Universiti Malaysia, Sabah. Okay, let me give you a bit on the background of the study. Actually, we did our research based on the funding that was given by the Sabah Tourism Board. Okay, in to do this profiling in the island of Mabul. Okay, Mabul is actually located a few kilometers away from the mainland of Sampurna. You can find that it is called a coral triangle. Mabul Island is located at a coral triangle which is at the border of Malaysia, Indonesia and also Philippines. It is also referred as the Amazon of the sea and is recognized by the World Wildlife Heritage as a marine biodiversity location. Okay, it is actually uh, 26 hectares on a reef. The entire island has two views. One view is for the tourists that love nature, beach, and also diving. But the other side of the island is where the residency of the locals are located. Actually, the island has two big villages. The biggest village is the Suluk village. Actually, from 130 people living in the island, now we have more than 3,000 people living in the island. This is because of the commuting of the people from the southern Philippines to the island. There are three distinct ethnic groups in the island, that is Suluk, Bajau Laut, or we call them Palaut, or Sea Gypsies, and we have Bajau Darat, or also known as Bana. The religion in the island is Muslim. They all speak different dialects or languages. Okay, their homes are usually built on stilts. The they have a primary school in the island where the maximum education that you can receive from the in the island is primary education, and this primary education is only given to those who have identification document. So out of the more than 3,000 people living in that island, you can find that only 200 or so has a proper documentation. The majority of the population are under 30 years old. The main occupation is to work as fishermen, where the fishermen can actually earn a monthly income that range from 500 to 600. Some of them work as boat builders, divers. Some women wash clothes at the homestay. They sell sea produce and also necessities in retail outlets. The sea gypsies or bajau laut, or you call them pelaut, sells lobsters, crab, prawn and mussels to actually have extra income. With the extra income, they buy their other necessities. So on average, the income earned by the islanders are only around 482 ringgit. So the entire objective of the study is to examine the satisfaction of the tourists in visiting Mabul Island as a tourist destination based on demographic profiling from the perspective of tourists. So the methodology, actually there was primary data collection, where in the primary data collection, the satisfaction of the people visiting Mabul Island, okay, as a tourist destination was actually measured based on 5 dimensions, okay, and these dimensions were actually profiled based on demographic factors. This will enable us to do segmentation based on gender, based on age, job sector, occupation, education, state of residence and income. Through this segmentation, it will help the marketers to do proper marketing strategies, choosing the proper marketing channels, okay, so that promotion strategies to encourage people to visit Mabul Island can be enhanced. Questionnaire was used as an instrument to gather information. The sampling used was purposive sampling. The questionnaire was answered by 169 respondents, where, due to the pandemic, only limited number of questionnaires were distributed physically, but the rest were answered by respondents through Google Form. The analysis that was done from the information gathered were descriptive and involved inferential statistics called ANOVA. If you look at this, the estimated F statistics had a value lower than the critical value at 5% significant level. So clearly indicates that the gender, whether male or female, were insignificant in influencing the satisfaction of visiting Mabul Island as a tourist destination. So the gender was insignificant in influencing the dimensions of perception and experience, services provided, information and communication, ethics and professionalism, and sustainable practices in accepting Mabul Island as tourist destination preferred by tourists at 5% significant level. We go to demographic factor profiling. The next profiling is age. Okay, based on the same 5 dimensions, we look at the estimated F statistics. Okay, we find that the estimated F statistics is less than the critical value of F. So all the dimensions were insignificant in explaining the satisfaction of the tourist, okay, in choosing Mabul Island as a tourist destination. Okay, you find that there is not much mean differences between the age category. So the ANOVA test conducted confirms that the estimated F statistics for all the dimensions were less than the critical value of F. Thus, it can be concluded that age of the tourist does not significantly influence the satisfaction of visiting Mabul Island. Next, profiling based on job sectors. Here, the job sectors that we are looking at, whether they were in government sector, private sector, or others. Okay, so here we look into the 5 dimensions too. The estimated F statistics for all the dimensions were less than the critical of F. Okay, so the job sector that was divided into government, private, and others indicates clearly that job sector does not matter whether the tourist is satisfied or not. That shows whether the tourist works with the government, private, or other sectors, it does not influence the satisfaction of visiting Mabul Island. 46.7% of the tourists that answered the questionnaire worked for the government. Another 46.7% worked in the private sector. Only 6.6% worked in category other than the government and the private sector. Thus, it can be concluded the satisfaction obtained in visiting Mabul Island was not influenced by the sector the tourists worked. Next, we are doing a profiling based on the type of occupation. So we look at the same 5 dimensions that measure the satisfaction of tourists in choosing Mabul Island as a tourist destination. The F statistics value that we obtain is less critical value of F for all the 5 dimensions. So the type of occupation included in the questionnaire were professional, business owners, employees working at management level, students, retired employees, homemakers, and others. If you look descriptively, 29.58% of the tourists who answered the questionnaire worked as professionals. 12.42% were business owners. 37.86% were employees working at the management level. 7.1% were students and 1.7% were respectively retirees and also homemakers. Finally, 9.46% of the respondents' occupation was other than those listed in the questionnaire. The estimated F statistics were found to be less than the critical value of F at 5% significant level. Thus, it can be concluded that the type of occupation does not influence the satisfaction of the tourists in Mabul Island, which was measured using the 5 dimensions. Next, we look at the state of residence. So we listed out all the states, okay, in Malaysia, and we measured whether states of residence influences the people's satisfaction in visiting Mabul Island. So based on this, we can see that the estimated F statistics for the 5 dimensions, okay, were less than the critical value of F at 5% significance level. So other than perception and experience, all other dimensions were found to be insignificant in influencing the satisfaction of the tourists visiting Mabul Island. This is because the estimated F statistics was less than the critical value, except for perception and experience. The highest mean satisfaction, 4.2273, was obtained from tourists who came from Johor. That means they preferred visiting Mabul Island. But the lowest mean satisfaction was obtained from tourists who came from Penang. This is because Penang is also an island, and based on the facilities that you have in Penang in comparison with Mabul, you find that Penang people from Penang did not find it tourists from Penang did not find it as something which provides them more satisfaction. Okay. Now, we find that out of the 169 tourists that was interviewed, majority of the tourists were Sabahans, which is 66.27%. This could be due to the pandemic that restricted movement between the states. So tourists that came from Selangor consist of 12.42%. 6.5% of the tourists came from Kuala Lumpur, while tourists that originated from Johor and Melaka were 3.5% respectively. No doubt Sarawak was nearer to Sabah, but the number of tourists that originated from Sarawak were only 2.3%. Tourists from the state of Labuan, Negeri Sembilan and Kedah were only 1.1% respectively. In addition, tourists from Kelantan and Penang only comprise 0.59% each. So the distribution of tourists from various states only in Malaysia was due to the movement control order and also the standard operating procedure that restricted the tourists to move from one state to the other. We had only one foreign tourist face to face, which is 0.59%. Statistic for all the dimensions was less than the critical value of 5% significant level. So this indicates clearly that the state of education or the level of education does not influence visitors' intention of visiting Mabul Island as a tourist destination of F at 5% significant level. So it indicates very clearly that the segmentation of the market based on income is insignificant in influencing the intention to visit the island to visit Mabul Island as a tourist destination. So it can be concluded that when the study was profiled using demographic variables else on the satisfaction of tourists visiting Mabul Island as tourist destination, questionnaire was used, okay, where the information was collected from 169 respondents using non-probability sampling, which is purposive sampling. The information was analyzed using descriptive and inferential statistics like ANOVA. The outcome of the whole research reveals that the demographic variables does not influence the satisfaction of the tourists in choosing Mabul Island as tourist destination. So it was not necessary to do market segmentation on the tourists based on demographic factor. So with this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.